Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. I see that all 24 of you are connected, which is fantastic. Let's get right down to business. I sent you a pre-quiz for this lesson, and I really do appreciate your responses. I made a PowerPoint, which I will share to you. Okay, let's just say play from start. Okay. So today we will start with an introduction to genetics and inheritance. So the big question is, what is genetics? So genetics is simply the study of heredity that is carried on chromosomes in units called genes. So you have done chromosomes in previous units. Okay, so genes are passed from the parents to the offspring by means of gametes. You've also done meiosis, but I will explain a little bit more. So what do our genes do? Genes determine the traits that we have. So most of us know physical traits. That is basically what you look like. So do you have blonde hair? Do you have blue eyes? Do you have a dark skin color, or do you have a fair skin color, etc.? Those are all physical traits. Big ears, small ears, lots of different examples. So physical traits are observable characteristics, like I've just mentioned, that you see when looking at someone else. There's some more examples. I also put the PowerPoints on Google Classroom for you guys, so you are welcome to go and take a look at them, add extra notes if you want, and as you wish. So genes and the environment act together to produce a trait in a very complex way that we're not going to go too deep into now, but you need to know that, for example, your genes determine your growth, but if you don't eat healthy or you don't exercise or look after yourself, you aren't going to grow optimally, even though you have a good gene for growing very tall, for example. So there you can see there's an attached earlobe, the free earlobe. That's a very interesting one that's determined by your genes. So take a look at your peers, take a look at your family members, and yeah, you can see the genes there doing their job. Next, we have 2 copies of each gene. So you get 1 from each of your parents. Each gene has 2 or more variations for what we see. And we can inherit the same or different variations. So for example, let's say hair color. Your father has black hair and your mom has blonde hair. So what gene did you get? And that is what we are going to study now. Okay, another thing that's very interesting, tongue rolling. So go check if you can do it or not. It's apparently determined by genetics. So can you do it or can you not do it? Okay, so where do we get our genes from? I said that you get 1 from each parent, right? So that is half comes, in other words, half comes from your mother and half comes from your father. You have already studied meiosis, where you've studied the 23 single chromosomes in the egg cell and 23 single chromosomes in the sperm cell. There's meiosis for you guys, and you saw how that happens and the variations in each and what. You've already done that. So when the sperm and egg cells combine, they form 1 cell with 46 single chromosomes, 23 pairs. Remember, 1 from mom, 1 from dad. Pairs, 23, 23 equals, each person has 46 single chromosomes. Okay, and all humans start the same way. Then we get to the father of genetics, Gregor Mendel. So he was an Austrian monk, and he's considered to be the father of modern genetics. So he started everything. So he used pea plants to demonstrate how certain characteristics were passed through generations. he used the different variations in pea plants for his experiments. So he used seed shape, seed color, flower color, pod shape, pod color, and stem height. There's a picture of Gregor Mendel and all the different traits that Mendel observed in these flowers. So he did thousands of tests in order to get to very useful conclusions. So useful features in peas. So the question here is, why did Gregor Mendel choose pea plants for his experiments? So the easiest explanation, well, there's many reasons, but the 4 important things that you guys need to know is, one, that I've already mentioned, there's several traits of the garden pea exists, and in 2 clearly different forms. So we said the shape. So the shape is either round or wrinkled. The color is either yellow or green. The flower color is either purple or white, and so on. There's a picture on the slide that explains it very clearly to you guys. Then the male and female reproductive parts are enclosed within the same flower. So it's easily controlled mating. He doesn't have to do anything, it happens by itself. The garden pea is small, grows easily, matures quickly, and produces many offspring. So, in other words, he can see his results or the results of his experiments very quickly. Peer breeding is possible, where we said, okay, we're going to get to what the term peer breeding means. Okay, so Mendel's work, what did he actually do? We said now, he did thousands of experiments with pea plants. So one thing he discovered was that he could distinguish between some traits that were dominating and recessive. So what that means is we'll get to that. But he showed that crossing a tall pea plant with a short one doesn't give a medium one, it gives another tall one. So why does this happen? And he did ratios, which is very important. And then Mendel wrote down 3 important genetic laws. So that's what we're going to study next. The first law of Mendel is the law of segregation. So this is the first law of heredity. And this describes the behavior of chromosomes during meiosis. So homologous chromosomes and then chromatids are separated. You've done this already, how this happens. So Mendel's first law states that there are 2 genes or alleles controlling a given characteristics. And these alleles separate and go to different gametes when a parent reproduces. The next is the law of dominance. So alleles can be dominant or recessive. If a dominant allele is present, that allele will always determine the trait. So let's go to an example where we said your mother has blonde hair and your father has black hair. So you get one blonde and one black allele, but black hair allele is dominant over blonde hair. So you will have black hair, even though you have a black and blonde allele. Okay, so if 2 alleles are different, heterozygous, for example, BB, the trait associated with only one of these will be visible, the dominant one, while the other will be hidden, recessive. A dominant allele is shown by a capital letter and a recessive by a lowercase letter. So this is important. The 2 brown cats in the picture there on the slide have different sets of alleles. One is BB, homozygous. The other is capital B, small b, heterozygous. And then there's the small b, homozygous, recessive. So we say that the first 2 brown ones, their genotype, which is capital B, and capital B, small b, are different. So their appearance, which is their phenotype, is the same. How? It's because the brown gene is expressed, and the brown gene is the dominant gene. So that is why both of their phenotypes are brown. Next, we get to the law of independent assortment. These laws will make more sense as we do examples and as we try and practice them. So then they'll make more sense. For now, you need to understand kind of what we're doing and what we're saying, make sense of the words and the concept, and we'll get to how to apply them just now. Okay, so the law of independent assortment. Mendel found that for the traits he studied, the inheritance of one trait did not influence the inheritance of any other trait. So the law of independent assortment states that all alleles of different genes separate independently of one another in a random fashion. The difference between this and the law of segregation is that the law of segregation refers to alleles of the same gene, whereas the law of independent assortment refers to genes in different combinations. Okay. So what is inheritance? That is the characteristics seen in us. Our appearance, our traits, depends on two things. So one, the combination of genes we get from our parents, and two, how those genes interact with each other. The different variations of genes are called alleles. Two basic alleles, gene variations. We get the dominant, the trait that is always seen if it is present, and recessive, the trait or characteristics that is only seen when the dominant variation is not present. In other words, when the recessive is present in homozygous form. Okay, there's an example: homozygous, heterozygous, and homozygous recessive. So these are all terms that you need to know. You need to be able to understand, define, and eventually be comfortable with using them. Homozygous, two, homozygous dominant, two dominant. That's the first one, capital B, capital B. Homozygous recessive, two recessive, that's small b, small b. Then we get heterozygous, that has one dominant, one recessive, in either capital B, small b, or small b, capital B form. More terminology. I have already mentioned this, but make sure you know. The genotype, that's the gene combination for a trait. So that's everything that we've done so far, BB, small b, BB, all those. So you'll see another one we often use, RR, capital R, small r, or small r, homozygous recessive. So R is red flower and small r is yellow flower. The phenotype, that is the physical feature resulting from a genotype. In other words, red or yellow. So let's look at the yellow flower. Its genotype is small r, small r. Its phenotype is a yellow flower. Okay. All genes occur in pairs, so two alleles affect a characteristic. So we will start with the unit questions in class. Sorry, let me just share that with you quickly. Word here. Okay, so I hope you can all see this now. Okay, so your unit questions I have uploaded to Google Classroom already. You guys can go and do that for homework before the next lesson, please. You will see there are 4 questions in total that you guys need to do for homework. So we will start with number 1 in class, just so that you know what is expected of you and how I want you to answer the questions. We will assess and mark your unit questions during the next lesson in self-assessment, and I will discuss the answers with you as we go along. I've also uploaded a YouTube video that explains Mendel's laws maybe easier, maybe better than I explained it, you can go decide yourself, or for extra reference as you wish. I've also uploaded extra resources on Google Classroom for you guys to use whenever you feel like you need it, or you can even just go on YouTube, type in something you don't understand, and there are loads and loads of videos, explanations, resources that you can use that are at your disposal. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. So let's get down to questions. Okay, so number 1 says, indicate whether each statement in column 1 applies to A or B, both A and B, or neither A nor B in column 2. So in column 1, A, peer breeding. So is that homozygous, or is that to do with something dominant? So the answer is A, homozygous. It only consists out of one allele. So either capital B, small b, capital R, small r, etc. B, the law of segregation. Is it to do with A, alleles, or B, different combinations of traits in parents and offspring? The answer is both A and B, because the law of segregation states that it is different combinations of traits in parents and offspring of alleles. Okay, C, the law of dominance. Is it A, heterozygous, or B, homozygous? So the law of dominance has to do with neither. So the answer is neither A nor B. D, the point on the chromosome that a particular gene occupies. That's definitely not a centromere. The answer is a locus. More than one loci. E, when two alleles are different for a particular trait. Are they homozygous or are they heterozygous? We've done this. The answer is heterozygous. F, 23 pairs of chromosomes in a human cell. This is a little bit of remembering from the previous unit. Is it A, haploid, or B, diploid? The answer is, of course, B, diploid. Okay, so I expect you to finish on question 2, 3, and 4 for homework, which we will discuss during the next lesson. Thank you for your time, and please contact me if you have any questions. Bye.